thank you very much. That was lovely. Do any of you know Thomas McGuane? Or know what he looks like? Pretty much you could just die after that, after Thomas McGuane said that about you. I just really felt that way when I read it. I thought, oh, okay, now I can die. I'm going to take this off because it's hot. There are several seats up here, 3 together, for anyone who's way back there and wants to move up. Next to Andy, who's so cute. All right. Thank you for coming. This is very exciting. It's good to see friends here. And book lovers. This is my first night, so I'm a little nervous. This is the opening of the tour. And I'm very, very pleased to be here at Book Passage for it, which is a store who has shown me a lot of love over the years. So thank you, Elaine, and everyone for having me back. So contents may have shifted. There are 132 very short chapters, each named with the place they occur. And there are 12 chapters that take place, no place, in other words, in the air at 39,000 feet. And those are named with the flight numbers of the airplane. So I will read you some chapters, little ones, and then I'll be happy to talk or answer questions. Or we're making this up as we go along tonight because it's opening night. So I'll start with this one. This is an airplane story. This is Delta 55. The plane is gradually but perceptibly descending. It is barely light outside and we aren't due at Orly until nearly noon. There is an odd ticking noise coming from the wing outside my window. I come fully awake and realize we are listing strenuously to the right. I glance at my seatmate on the aisle. Her name is Rebecca. She is a 26-year-old bank teller from Cincinnati who has never flown before, who has saved for 5 years to take her dream trip to Paris. I spent most of dinner telling her how much safer airplanes are than car travel, how the 777 has a minimum of 3 fail-safes on each of its major systems, how even if one of the engines fell clean off the fuselage, it is designed to tumble backwards, up and over the wing, so it doesn't tear the wing from the plane. Now, in spite of all my reassurances, we seem to be heading shoulder first into the North Atlantic. Ladies and gentlemen, the pilot says, as many of you are probably aware, we are descending, preparing to make an unscheduled landing into Reykjavik, Iceland. Approximately 35 minutes ago, we experienced an explosion in our number 2 engine, and that engine is now inoperable. The ticking sound you hear is the wind running through it, spinning the blades backwards, much like a household fan. You can probably also tell that we are tacking toward Iceland, much as we would in a sailboat, as our current engine configuration will not give us full power in a straight line. Now Rebecca is awake and looking at me wild-eyed. The man likes a metaphor, I say, and offer a small smile. The light out the window has strengthened and I can see white caps on an angry gray sea. I always kind of wanted to go to Iceland, I say, but by now Rebecca is no longer looking at me. She has her eyes closed tightly, has given herself, I imagine, to prayer. We will be landing in approximately 15 minutes, the captain says. Please give your undivided attention to the flight attendants as they instruct you in landing in the brace position. I like that he did not say crash. I like that he is a language guy. The ocean is getting quite a bit closer, no sign of Iceland out my window, and I hope that Reykjavik Airport does not turn out to be a metaphor for fucked. Just when it seems that our wheels have to be skimming the water, land and runway lights appear, and then more of them. So many lights it is hard to count them, a sea of spinning red and blue. Every ambulance and fire truck in Iceland seems to have come out to greet us. Holy shit, I say, just before the wheels hit the foam and the foam splashes up and covers all the windows. throwing the cabin in a half-light exactly like waking up in a tent after a snowstorm, and then everyone is cheering as the plane glides to a jerky, sticky stop. Much later, in an upstairs blank space of terminal, as we are being fed rice with some kind of yellow chickeny goo all over it by something resembling the Icelandic Red Cross, the crew tells us the reason for the emergency equipment. When the number 2 engine exploded, it spit jet fuel all over the fuselage. We were a Molotov cocktail hurtling through space, is the way the literary pilot puts it. There was no way to be certain that the friction of the tires on the runway wouldn't make a spark and ignite us, turn us into a 90-mile-per-hour ball of flame. This is chapter 36. It's called Luang Prabang, Laos. In Luang Prabang, the holiest city in Laos, pastel temples rise out of Mekong River mist, children carry fresh bouquets of frangipani blossoms, and women get up at dawn every morning to stand on street corners and spoon rice into the begging bowls of monks clad in robes of maroon and saffron who walk the streets in a tradition of generosity centuries old. Here, dawn happens at the same time every morning. We are that close to the equator. Life clusters around the temples and the river, where there is always someone bathing, washing clothes, or tending the tiny gardens that spring up from every bank. Zai and I climb wooden stairs to temple after temple and stand before giant golden Buddhas who are reclining, sitting, standing, some of them so tall we only come to their knees. Monks of all ages tend the altars, bringing oranges, incense, silver chalices of water and wine. They tell me to write down something I wish for and leave the scrap of paper among the offerings. I start with stop hunger and make peace. But in the next temple, Zai says, something for yourself, as if he's been reading over my shoulder. So I write, speak French fluently. And in the next temple, more dogs and friends, less work. And in the last one, for God's sake, Pam, spread it around. Once on the big island of Hawaii, I got to watch the earth get made. Not just me, hundreds of people. Kilauea was erupting in such a user-friendly way you could get right up next to a new lava flow with only a mile's walking, with no fear of getting acid rain in your hair. I had seen the flowing lava from a distance one time, seen it pour into the Pacific, sending up enormous clouds of spit and steam, but standing right next to it, even straddling little rivulets of it as it found its way through tiny gullies formed in the drying black glass of the prior day's lava, made the whole thing so intimate it took my breath away. There was a van full of geology students from some Midwestern state lunging around the new lava like gorillas, wielding pickaxes and scooping big metal fingers full of the blackening goo. And I thought about all the stories I had heard about Pele tossing, for example, a front end loader into the sea, driver and all, if she did not approve of the location of a construction project. And I imagined these future geologists of America getting home to Kansas with their samples and their hair falling out and their dicks falling off. In the Tom Not Lao, 3 elephants, restaurant in Luang Prabang, tourists sit side by side with locals, and the humid air seems to be infused with a mist of goodwill. Shy-eyed servers bring chicken curry, banana pancakes, grilled goldfish, dried deer meat, stuffed peppers, noodle soup, meatballs made with fish, spring rolls, stir-fried vegetables, green chili paste. In the late afternoon, a young monk in a silken saffron robe crosses a courtyard paved with ancient cobblestones, steps into a ray of sunlight, and ignites, as if for a moment he has the sun inside him, as if he is the light of the world.